What's up, peeps? I'm going to do a few quick shout outs before we get started. Silver Surfer, what's going on? You be up early. Silver Surfer must live on YouTube. Got to. Hot, retarded chicks. Oh, Lord, baby Jesus. You gotta change that name. Oh, man. Natalie Chavez, what's going on, Nat? How you doing? I hope everything's going well for you. Brian, Trident. Like the gum? Or like the weapon? Fire Puff. Ruben Massaguat. What's up, Niko? What's your take on 9 people that were killed in Mexico? I heard about it yesterday, but I got to read more about it. I saw that, like, coincidentally enough, there were a bunch of Americans that were killed too. I'm like, that's just really, really convenient. Monarch, Tulsi or trash. Amen to that. Jay Coolidge, doing your morning stretches. I haven't gotten to do my morning stretches. I'm running out of mornings, so I'm guessing I'm gonna have to do them in the afternoon. They suspended your Twitter. Hold on, Nat. I thought you were getting off of Twitter. Did you come back and then get suspended immediately? Gregory Tony, what's up? Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Living this beautiful life of mine. I really can't complain. Well, I could complain, but what would change? There's an ongoing war between the Mormons and the narcos. Hold on, what? Like the religious group, and the narcos, like the actual drug dealers? Why? Is it like, did the Mormons keep going up to the narcos' doors? Or like, no, that's Jehovah's Witness. Robert Sims, listen to Niko to find your balance. Amen. We try to keep it funky like gym socks out here. Why is Anna still smearing Tulsi? I don't know. What's funny is, I'm glad that Natalie is here, and I'm glad that Silver Surfer is here, because they can back me up on this. But I said in February and March, I said the only reason that Anna and Emma and a lot of others have come out so hard smearing and attacking Tulsi, but not smearing and attacking Warren, despite the fact that Tulsi was at the time like 1 or 2%, the only reason that they were coming out and attacking her was because they knew, even at that point, that the polls were a lie, and that Tulsi, well, not a lie, I won't say that, but the polls were not accurate, and they weren't an accurate representation of what was going to come if Tulsi's message got out. And so they decided to nip it in the bud, because they knew that once people figure out about Tulsi's integrity, her conviction, what she's advocated for in the past, her own personal evolution, how anti-war she actually is. Not only it's not just an anti-war sentiment, but more importantly, she understands how we get into these wars now. And because of that, she was always going to be a threat to their cash cow, which is Bernie. Like, it's more than just about their support for Bernie. It's that Bernie is their cash cow. And nobody in the same age range, in the same career path, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody wants, it's hard for a young person to convince themselves to be as supportive of another young person, achieving that level of success. Because there's always this like natural competitive nature in any business, if you will. But an older person, a grandma, Warren, like Warren, or an older guy like Bernie, who's paid their dues, they're cool with, if you will. So I say that now once Warren becomes a legitimate threat, which he had always been, but there are so many people that they view their politics in this like 24-hour lens, like, but the polls are saying she's only at 4%. Warren isn't a real threat for Bernie. She can't even outfund her. And me and Fiorella and Pasta and Sophia and others were like, y'all are silly. Y'all are attacking the wrong person. You're attacking the only one who will defend Bernie no matter, against lies and smears, etc., no matter what happens. Whereas with Warren, we know that there is a limit to that, and that it's really her defense of Bernie only comes with the goal of beating him. Like, that's the only reason that she's defending him. And we've been saying that. Now that it's finally come out the bag that obviously Warren is probably Bernie's biggest threat, as far as like just her being able to steal his message, almost exactly, water it down, but still win. Now that's come out, all of a sudden people are still now kind of critiquing Warren, but even with those critiques, they're softball critiques, right? It's only simple stuff like Medicare for all. Like we've been telling y'all that she wasn't for Medicare for all. We've been saying that. You've been known this, right? We've already known that Warren wasn't really for Medicare for all, but they pretended like they didn't know. But at the end of the day, everybody who smears Tulsi knows that if all things are equal, obviously there's going to be rigging, right? But if all things are equal, if Bernie has a chance to win, right? If we're not including the rigging, if Bernie has a chance to win, then Tulsi has an equal opportunity to win as well. If we're not including rigging. If we are including rigging, if we are going to like legitimately consider the election integrity issues that have already been on display, then neither of them have a chance to win until we talk about election integrity, which is a different issue. So that's my take on that particular issue. Obviously, I'm going to go into some specific details in this discussion. But yeah, Natalie, Abby Martin, like that's, and by the way, I have a lot of respect for Abby Martin, her and Mike. They've done some amazing work. But if you want to see the level of delusion that is taking place, look no further than Abby Martin. Like, if you're trying to rationalize this, there is no rational answer for why these people dislike Tulsi. Because if you take Abby Martin, for example, you know that Abby Martin launched her career not in the last couple of years, but around September 11th, when she was calling out corruption on 9/11 cover-ups. Regarding a lot of it was regarding Saudi Arabia. That's how Abby got famous. So, excuse me, instead, and mind you, this is what? 2 weeks after Tulsi introduced her 9/11 resolution. And Abby, after Tulsi introduces this, goes on Michael Brooks and begins to talk about, well, one of the reasons I don't like her is because she's running against Bernie. Like, how did she get away with that? Why did she do that? Why, like, Abby, Tulsi ran first. She announced first, and I know for a fact Tulsi had told Bernie months in advance. And instead of Bernie getting together his apparatus and then putting it behind a younger candidate that has come from his tree, if you will, his progressive tree, but is better on foreign policy, instead of getting behind that, his ego drove him to run. Because he had somebody, because what was the whole excuse that he said, I ran because Warren wouldn't run even though I asked her to. Okay, now Tulsi is running and she's infinitely better than Warren. So why not just let her run? Because it's about ego. That's what it was always about. Well, not always, but recently it's been about ego in his run. So, but he has the right to run, and I will never shame Bernie for running. However, to shame somebody saying, how dare that young, intelligent, strong woman who's infinitely better on foreign policy, how dare she announce before Bernie and run against him? How dare she? I don't like her for that. You know how ridiculous that sounds? And then on top of that, once again, whenever the families for the 9/11 victims reached out to Bernie's campaign recently to work with them to declassify this information so that we can hold the right parties accountable? They ignored them. Once again, Abby launched her career off of 9/11 or exposing 9/11 corruption. And Tulsi introduces legislation to address this, meets with the families, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But she smears Tulsi. Clearly, I mean, Bernie pushed Russiagate. Abby worked for RT and had to constantly defend RT because of Russiagate smears. Bernie smeared Maduro and their government. Abby used to work for Telesur and spent a good part of her career telling the truth about what was actually happening in Venezuela. The truth that Bernie has yet to acknowledge. And so if you want me to try and help you understand like what is going through these people's heads, I don't know. Why would Abby Martin even go on Michael Brooks' show when she's expressed to me clearly she doesn't even like Sam Cedar or that whole clique? She never even liked TYT. So it's almost like they feel like Tulsi's come out of nowhere and is garnering all this positive attention, and they feel like they've been putting in the work longer and they deserve more attention. They're okay with Bernie getting that type of attention because Bernie's been at it for 40 years, quote unquote. But someone in their wheelhouse getting this type of attention, basically potentially going to change the world, they don't like that shit. I think it's about time to get started. So I'll make sure I didn't miss any super chats or anything. All right, peeps. No, I didn't show any clips yet. We're about to get started right now. Oh, yeah, I did change the backdrop. We're in the middle of the election season now. And I'm like, it's cool that I live in this, nice Miami weather. I had the other backdrop specifically because I know a lot of people, they like the tropical, the tropical nature of Miami. And so I like to brighten people's days up in the wintertime. But it is indeed selection time. So, of course, it's time to kick it into gear. We got to get in the mood. All right. All right. Boom. Let's get it popping. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikas Sukas. And, of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Today, we have some crazy coverage, but before we get started, Rokfin, the video platform, the streaming platform that I belong to, the Convo Couch, many creators, the one that is basically attempting to beat out YouTube and taking advantage of blockchain technology and the cryptocurrency market to do so, they just released their app. So if you go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store at rokfin.com, or just type in Rokfin, Rokfin, you can actually get the Rokfin app and follow us there, watch our live streams there, and all that good stuff. So really excited about that. I'll be doing another video going into more detail about that later. But yeah, just go to Rokfin, Rokfin, in your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, preferably Apple, because Samsung and Google are the feds. But yeah, and make sure that you follow us, follow the Convo Couch, and follow Graham, and follow Ron Placone as well. So, with that being said, Anna Kasparian and Giant Iderola, they got some issues. I don't really even know what to call it anymore. They covered the interview that Tulsi did with The View, right? And their analysis, I mean, it's John, I feel like especially, has been lazy. Like Anna has been nefarious. John has been lazier than usual. And it's interesting because I feel like in 2016, John's whole thing, like his wheelhouse, was actually going into incredible detail and incredible analysis based off of facts that hadn't been talked about before, even though he was boring as hell. But at least that was like what he was most known for back in the day. Now, that is no longer the case. John, in my opinion, like I said, has gotten lazier and lazier. He's bought into a lot of the framing from Anna and Emma. And he's just, like I say, he's just become more and more disingenuous and decided to ignore basic facts. Anna, on the other hand, she purposely ignores facts. For whatever reason, Anna has some personal vendetta. And I love when she gets caught lying. And I'm don't get me wrong, I don't follow TYT, so I don't catch these things. That's why I have awesome supporters like you to bring them to my attention. And so now we're about to address it. So since somebody did bring it to my attention, let's look at this clip and point out every single lie Anna has pushed. It's gonna get good. But don't get it twisted though, because she gonna act like she defended her. She gonna act like she defended Tulsi. And what they do is, and I love this because this is a trick that a lot of progressives have started doing. They'll say, now, there are legitimate critiques of Tulsi, but I have to defend her here because this one critique is so incredibly ridiculous that none of my critiques have ever been incredibly ridiculous. This is just a ridiculous critique. Watch.
Too, there were previous statements that were made by a few of the women on The View. So, for instance, when the show discussed Gabbard and Clinton's comments about her recently, Sunny Hostin said, quote, "I've often said that Tulsi is sort of a Trojan horse in this. She's polling at only 1.2%, yet she's still in the race." And then
really fast on that. I don't. What does she mean by Trojan horse?
I don't know. I really don't know. But look,
like there are multiple people who are only at 1%.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say like 5 people are.
Now you just heard that, right? This segment isn't from 7 months ago or 8 months. They open up the segment with a lie. I mean, case in point, ladies and gentlemen, if Tulsi was at 1%, would she be in the November debates? Because they can't pretend like they didn't know that she was in the November debates, because the segment was about the View segment. Mind you, she made the debates the same day as the View, and there were headlines everywhere as usual. So they can't pretend like they didn't know. So if she's in the debates, which requires a minimum of 3% in at least 4 early primary states, or 5% in 2 national polls, if I'm not mistaken, then she couldn't have made the debates if she wasn't polling high enough. If she was at 1%. But what makes this whole thing even more ironic is that one of the polls that mind you, the 5% of the national polling is the high end requirement. That's why there's only 2. You only had to get 2. And that's why it makes it funnier that one of the polls that she got to get into the debates was the 5% poll, not by some random polling agency that probably would have done a better job than CNN, but by a CNN approved poll. She was at 5%. With the polling metrics not working in her favor, she was at 5%. Not in Iowa, not in New Hampshire, not in Wisconsin, not in South Carolina, but nationally. But let's keep telling lies. But that's why you hear people repeat these lies, because TYT keeps getting away with telling lies and not doing research. All these damn researchers on staff, and y'all can't get basic facts correct. But they're journalists. They're progressives. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Like 1%.
Tim Ryan, Trojan horse.
Well, he's not technically running anymore, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other Tim Ryans, effectively. I was recently reminded by an MSNBC graphic, me and Michael Bennett were reminded that Michael Bennett's still technically running.
Oh my God.
Is Michael Bennett in the next debate? Oh, no, I didn't think so.
He's still in this.
That's kind of incredible. No, so look, this is the thing with Tulsi Gabbard, right? And I want to note right now, because I never get credit for it, I am fair in my critiques. I do not like Tulsi Gabbard as a candidate at all. I think that—
Oh, yeah. She's sparing her critiques. It's about to get real.
She's a target-rich environment when it comes to critiquing her, especially when it comes to her BDS vote.
Actually, I'm gonna let her finish her statement.
If she is a patriot who fought for this country, that means that she fought for this Constitution. That means fighting for the First Amendment. If you vote on a resolution to condemn people in America practicing their First Amendment rights because you don't like the fact that they're holding the Israeli government to account, that's an issue for me, right?
What's hilarious about that statement is that you can make the argument that Tulsi should not have voted at all, which is the argument that I made. I felt like that resolution specifically was a catch-22 because the other part of that she's not talking about is the fact that the resolution actually asserts the First Amendment. Specifically, it actually says that. It was very clear, despite the fact that the government doesn't agree with BDS, it doesn't find it to be the most effective way. However, the government does not have a right to ban anybody from participating in it. And it asserts the First Amendment, which is actually the primary reason Tulsi voted for it. Although she doesn't agree with sanctions in any way, form, or fashion. That's her personal policy. Because all the places she's been to, she says it hurts the people, not the government. However, she voted for that specifically because of it asserting First Amendment rights. And there were a bunch of cases open with no precedents where people were about to be prosecuted for practicing and engaging in BDS. That's the part that Anna left out. But she didn't have I'm confused. What it like? Cause then if you are curious as to if that's really the reason, Tulsi also co-sponsored Elon's resolution just in case, asserting specifically that people have the right to participate in BDS. So if you were curious about why she voted for that one, your answer is then found in the other bill that she co-sponsored alongside Elon. And what's so funny, once again, is the bill that did it, the actual bill that didn't get covered by TYT, because it's all clickbait at this point. I think that we can all agree. The bill that actually did damage to BDS was the bill to give unlimited money to Israel that Tulsi did not co-sponsor, by the way, but Ro kind of did. But it gave unlimited money to Israel, and it was very clear that it was targeting all of the places, all of the industries that BDS was targeting, effectively ending BDS by giving Israel so much money that BDS becomes ineffective. I wonder how much, and I covered it. Convo Couch covered it. I think Jimmy might have covered it. TYT doesn't even know about it. That's not even, and once again, and if that's a legitimate critique, Anna, if we're doing legitimate critiques, I'm curious, where's your legitimate critique of Warren telling Israel or telling the world that Israel has demographic realities that it needs to address, that they have to deal with, referring specifically to too many Arab babies being born in Israel? Where's your legitimate critique about Warren? Basically, I mean, she engaged in white supremacy regarding Israel specifically on a regular basis. She engages in it. She hasn't changed her tune, if you haven't noticed. Where's your legitimate? Because that's why I love that legitimate critique. It's one thing if your legitimate critiques stretch across the board, but it took you literally 8 months to finally come up with a legitimate critique for Warren regarding Medicare for All, despite the fact that you knew Warren was trash on Medicare for All in February. You knew it and you didn't want to say anything about it. Huh? Oh, so we're not legitimately critiquing? I thought we were legitimately critiquing. Or the fact that Bernie is absolutely, like, he's just not really good on Israel and Palestine. He's better. He's better than most. But understand that Bernie said in an interview, well, one, he got caught by Al Jazeera when he signed that the letter that Marco Rubio and the rest of the Senate signed to tell the United Nations you're not allowed to do anything that benefits BDS officially. That's the letter that Bernie signed and got caught signing it. And his excuse was, I didn't write the letter. And this wasn't in 2015, 2014. This is in 2017. Or about the time that Bernie got caught in an interview saying that he doesn't believe that giving Palestinians equal rights is a good idea because it might mean the end of Israel. And that was in the last year or so. Tulsi has never made such a statement. Even when she was bad on Israel and Palestine, she's never made such a statement. So where are the legitimate critiques at? Because it seems like you're only getting your legitimate critiques off of Twitter hashtags on social media and not actually doing your research about all the candidates. You're just looking to confirm your biases. Let's continue.
And we were critical of Ro Khanna for also casting that vote, that anti-BDS vote. I think she's a target-rich environment when it comes to things like flip-flopping on Medicare for All. She claimed to be this true progressive who was supportive of Medicare for All. Later, she says she's in favor of Medicare choice.
Anna's a journalist, y'all. Anna's a journalist with a team of researchers behind her. She says that Tulsi flip-flopped on Medicare for All. Her words have been consistent. Her words have been consistent from the time she started this election up until this point. She said she loved Medicare for All. In fact, remember she excoriated Kamala on the stage because Kamala tried to call something Medicare for All that it was not a single payer legislation. It was not in the spirit of Medicare for All. And she called out the fact that Kamala had cybalists working on her legislation. And that's the problem, is that we keep having the power brokers cutting into the deals on our healthcare legislation. And we can't have that. She didn't flip-flop on Medicare for All. Her plan is actually called Single Payer Plus. Out of all the candidates right now, based off of what I've been told by the campaign, for what the plan's supposed to be, obviously that could change when she releases it, but I've been told by the campaign that it's going to be one payer, a single payer plan. There's no flip-flop. That's it. There's no flip-flop. In fact, she's the only candidate running right now who actually has a single payer plan. Bernie's is not a single payer plan, although it is very good, although it is universal health care. You need to understand that is not a single payer plan. I can count right now multiple players. Medicare pays for some stuff. Medicaid pays for other things. Medigap, outlined in the legislation, pays for some other things. And if need be, providers can opt out of the Medicare network and contract with private insurance companies, and then they can pay however they and cover however they or whatever they'd like. That's 4 payers right there. And some would say, no, well, the single payer means non-duplicative coverage. No, that's not what it means. Because Australia has a single payer system and they have duplicative coverage. But the thing is, if you do your job as far as your single payer is concerned, if you make it work the way it's supposed to, then it almost renders the duplicative coverage useless. People don't pursue it. Only 8% of the only 8% of the medical industry in Australia accounts for the private expenditures, and that's the number one healthcare system in the world. And they covered healthcare, have single payer for an entire continent. So if we're going to pretend, then if we're going to lie, then we can lie. I could just say a bunch of shit and call it the truth. But Anna, just admit that it's a lie. You don't know what you're talking about. And second of all, you're a journalist who is supposedly covering, whatever you call it, a presidential election where you're putting a microscope on, supposedly, on progressives. Got it. Why do I have to correct you on what the new updated name for Tulsi's plan is when she's had a month's worth of town halls, a month's worth of interviews, and has even posted it on her social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what the new name of her policy is. Why? Because you didn't do your research before you opened your mouth. You just said something, once again, that you read on Twitter. And once again, it's just interesting to me how all of a sudden flip-flopping on Medicare for all, quote unquote, makes you less of a progressive, but it didn't make Elizabeth Warren less of a progressive when she's been flip-flopping since February, but you said she was the second most progressive person in the race. There's literally no consistency in your logic, but let's continue.
So there's a bunch of policy-related issues that you can critique her on, but instead the lazy attacks where she's accused of being a Russian asset, or it's lame and it's lazy.
You see what she does? She tries to cloak her smears as a defense. How disingenuous can you be?
And I have to defend Tulsi Gabbard on that. Unless you have evidence proving that she's a Russian asset, you don't get to just smear someone and call her a Russian asset. Okay, so I think that's a problem. Joy Behar had previously referred to her as a useful idiot, which is why Tulsi Gabbard referenced that in the video that we just showed you. Now, Joy Behar fires back in this next clip.
Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you.
Joy, this is why,
I mean, you're on Tucker Carlson at least 10 times. Why don't you go on Chris Wallace's show?
This is why I'm here, because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary Clinton started it, and then you shot back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made. It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in such a way.
But you called her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such a way.
Oh my God.
So, look, I don't think Behar's defense was that great.
Really quick, I want to address this super chat. Elijah Freeman, thanks for the super chat. Someone must draw a distinction between Bernie Warren and Tulsi's Medicare for All, because Kyle seems to think hers is second best at the 14 mark of his Warren vid. Okay. Warren's plan can't be second best because it's, by her own admission in the fucking policy, it says, I'm using Bernie's bill. It's Bernie's plan, basically. But she's just changing the way that it's paid for. And it's not, and the way it's paid for is just not a good way to, if it's really going to be like $9,500 per employee, that's insanity. That's not good. It's going to kill small businesses. And so there is the second best plan is Bernie's bill. The first best single payer plan is Jayapal's so far. And I'm waiting to see what Tulsi's plan is going to be overall before I make my judgment. But hey, I don't know why people just invent stuff sometimes. They just confirm their biases. That's all it's about. Thanks for always speaking the truth. Thanks, Glory, for the super chat. He said, thanks for always speaking the truth, and the Heat are winning the East this season. You know what, Glory? It's real possible that the Heat are going to win the East because nobody's paying attention to them. Tyler Hero is a ballin'. Gunn is balling. Jimmy Buckets is doing what he always does. And let's be real, every team that Jimmy Buckets gets on is a playoff contender, is a championship contender. Every time. Every time he leaves, they fall off for whatever reason. And every time he goes to a team, they become a playoff contender. So I said, yeah. Appreciate it. G, my concern for the U.S. is so the U.S. is so corrupt that duplicative insurance will undermine. So that's a legitimate concern, and we can go into details about that later, but the issue isn't duplicative coverage, actually. The issue is, and it has always been, private insurance companies having lobbyists that pay off Congress people to have a seat at the negotiating table, to write the legislation, they have Big Pharma also has a seat at the negotiating table to price gouge on prescription drugs. And then those prices get passed down to us. That has always been the issue. It is not duplicative coverage. Because like I just said, Australia, who, isn't that, they aren't that much better than us as far as corruption is concerned. But they have duplicative coverage, and yet only 8% of their expenditures, private expenditures, account for their medical expenses. So why is it that they can have duplicate? Because they don't have lobbyists getting a seat at the table. It's at the back end. It's at the root that we have to defeat that. Because under Bernie's legislation, he doesn't address the root. I want to be clear about that. And because of that, for those of you who don't know, and I'll try to make this quick, Medicare, and this is according to a doctor on the Medicare for All panel who supports Bernie, supports Medicare for All, and was talking to Bree Joy Gray at Politicon. He said Medicare pays him 1/3 of what private insurance companies do for the same exact service. And he said this, what's to stop providers from opting out of the Medicare network like they already are doing? Now, Bree's response is, well, we can deal with that whenever it comes. That sounds good. But if I'm a private insurance company and I'm thinking long term, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pay doctors so much now. They can do it because they've got all this money from us. I'm gonna pay doctors so much that they'll choose to opt out of the Medicare for All network because I'm going to cover their overhead and then some. And that is not addressed in Bernie's bill. So you're right, the corruption is real, but there's only one candidate who has sought to address corruption, not like because of her new legislation coming out, but in January, when she worked on the move to amend bill to get big money out of politics. This has been consistent for her, and she didn't just try to couple it with a single payer legislation. She knew that the root to many of our problems, from healthcare to the military-industrial complex, was lobbying and corruption in Washington, not just the practice itself or the policy itself.
Wasn't great at all, actually.
Well, and it's also weird because so the thing started with Hillary's original comment, which was slightly misreported. So apparently Joy Behar jumped on it. And even once it was corrected and she realized that Hillary Clinton hadn't literally said Russia, she was implying the GOP or something, Joy's just sticking with the original misinterpretation? She was so excited by it or something?
Hold on. I am as well. Like the original interpretation of what Hillary Clinton wasn't great at all, actually.
Well, and it's also weird because so the thing started with Hillary's original comment, which was slightly misreported. So apparently Joy Behar jumped on it. And even once it was corrected and she realized that Hillary Clinton hadn't literally said Russia, she was implying the GOP or something, Joy's just sticking with the original misinterpretation? She was so excited by it or something?
Hold on. I am as well.
Like I said, John has gotten incredibly lazy.
Like the original interpretation of what Hillary Clinton said. She specifically said in the end of her statement that Jill Stein is also a Russian agent. So like her camp's attempt to backpedal and clean up the mess that Hillary Clinton put out there, I thought was incredibly lame, and I'm not buying it.
That's fine, because I don't care what Hillary says on literally anything. And I wish that all of us as a country would move on from.
No. See, no, that's bullshit. You can't do that. You can't try and they always do this shit. Like, you can't make such an egregious misstep with all this accurate information out there and then and trying to, I just don't care what Hillary Clinton says anyway. No. First of all, it's your job to care what she says in the sense that you're a journalist. So if you're going to portray her words, you need to portray them accurately, especially if we're going to try to insult somebody else for what Hillary said. These people, bro, I'm telling you. There's no integrity in this damn industry anymore.
The frustrating thing about that clip is we talked about Jane Fonda's interaction with Abby Huntsman earlier today on the damage report, and that's a very similar sort of thing. It's a pointless thing, whether you think it or not, it's a pointless thing to continually focus on. And The View, in some ways, they're good people and they're doing their best, but it's always lazy. It's always kind of lazy, and they were spreading misinformation about the Green New Deal earlier. And I get why, especially if you're on the show, she will have to defend herself, obviously, and I would be incredibly frustrated being called a useful idiot or whatever. I do think, though, outside of the context of being on the show, strategically for her candidacy, I don't know why Tulsi Gabbard is focusing so much on this.
Okay, John. Oh, matter of fact, hold up.
To me, it would be like if Richard Nixon just kept.
It helped her in her numbers.
But that's to some extent.
This is what I'm talking about, y'all. You see what we're dealing with? First of all, the conversation was about it was about the View interview where Tulsi was directly asked about this engagement with Hillary Clinton. Is that Tulsi focusing on the engagement with Hillary Clinton? One. Is it? No, it's not. It's not. That isn't her focusing on the. She was asked to go on the show, and because of two high-profile politicians going at it, she was asked about it. Now, what's even funnier is I don't understand why she would focus on this. Like, just strategically. I just don't get it. Like, has it really helped her? John. She's polling at 5% nationally now. She's about to report a record-breaking fundraising quarter. She's in the November debates when I didn't think she was not going to make it, but I wasn't counting on her to make it. We were moving on to bigger and better things, and it was like, oh shit, she's in the debates. Damn. And now, and depending on what this Quinnipiac poll comes out and says today, she's already 2 out of 4 polls for December. If the Quinnipiac poll favors her today, she'll be 3 out of 4 polls for December already. Cory Booker isn't even close. Beto had to drop out. Julian Castro is about to drop out. Do you realize how ridiculously idiotic you sound, bro? At the bare minimum, you sound really uneducated. Like, you sound like you just given up on doing basic levels of research. I don't understand. How is her standing up to the most hated politician in the country that almost nobody else on the left would stand up to in this position? How would that help her? I don't know, John. I don't know. 6% in Wisconsin, 5% in New Hampshire, multiple polls, 3% in Iowa now. She had another poll in South Carolina. She's at 3% in South Carolina. I don't know, John. She's now cracked top 4 in multiple polls. I don't know, John. Why would standing up to the biggest bully in the history of American politics be helpful? Especially when Hillary attacked Tulsi unprompted and tried to smear her name. Why would anybody want someone who is going to stand up for themselves? Because that's never been an issue in the Democratic Party, right? Politicians bending the knee to the party and its elites. That's never been an issue. Nobody's ever. See, this is that bubble they live in. It's that LA, Hollywood, limousine liberal bubble. They legitimately don't believe Hillary is as despised as she actually is around this country. Because I've lived all over. I've traveled to many more places, from New York to North Carolina to Chicago to California to Miami. I mean, I've been all over. Just left Tennessee. They hate Hillary, bro. Anything calling out Hillary will get you a boost in your numbers. But hey, this is journalism, guys. This is progressives. Home of the progressives, well-researched.
I think the fact that she was being attacked by a high-profile politician certainly helped her. That doesn't mean that the content necessarily helped her. In general, if you want to expand your base to include new people, this hardly seems like the sort of thing that's going to expand it, focusing on it. Now,
if you want to expand your base to new people, focusing on the candidate that is most hated in the country by both the left and the right, or not a candidate, the politician, excuse me, that is hated by the left and the right, that's not the way to bring new people in. Isn't that why Trump literally jumped to defend her? Because he saw so much of his base praising her that he can't even attack her now, no matter what Tulsi says about him. Trump has yet to attack Tulsi. But hey, John, that's why you're the expert Democratic strategist, I'm sure.
Supporters are really defensive of her, obviously, and they think that what Hillary Clinton said is fundamentally false. So focusing on it for them, they really support you, they get fired up. But that doesn't shoot you up to 5 or 10% or 20%, let alone. Supporters are really defensive of her, obviously, and they think that what Hillary Clinton said is fundamentally false. So focusing on it for them, they really support you, they get fired up. But that doesn't shoot you up to 5 or 10% or 20.
That doesn't shoot you up to 5%, except for in that national poll, she got 5%, and in that New Hampshire poll where she got 5%, and in that Wisconsin poll where she got 6%. Like, other than those, other than the polls that get you into the debates, that doesn't shoot you up to 5%. That's silly. It's, bruh. They're insulated. They're in a different world than the rest of us live in. I promise you.
Percent, let alone to first place. So I think like she could look at whether you think that Elizabeth Warren is a real progressive or fake progressive. She didn't get to like neck and neck with Joe Biden by focusing on this sort of thing, like focusing exclusively on how she's being attacked. She put forward actual proposals. I think that if
they think that Warren got neck and neck with Biden by putting forth actual proposals, is that what they really believe? Is that why Kamala at one point was neck and neck with Joe Biden? Because she put out actual proposals? Or at one point when Beto was considered a top tier candidate as well, was it because he put out actual proposals? Did Pete Buttigieg jump up in the polls because he put out actual proposals? No. Warren's success in the polls, like Biden's success in the polls, like Buttigieg's success in the polls, like previous success that Beto had, like previous success that Kamala had, was directly correlated with the amount of mainstream coverage that they got. They were taking turns. At first the first one was Kamala, then they tried Beto, that shit failed epically immediately. Then there was Biden. Then there was, they tried Buttigieg for a second, but then the South Bend stuff came out with the racist practices that he had conducted in with the police department there. So then he fell out quick, and then they were like, "Shit, we don't have anybody left. Let's go ahead and go with Warren," because Kamala was eliminated by Tulsi, obviously. So they went with Warren, and literally you can track their polling, and it directly correlates with how much mainstream coverage they have, which is why 50% of the people who are voting are still like, yeah, but I still could change my mind, because they don't know. Which is why even pollsters were saying it's ridiculous to decide who's going to end up on the debate stage by polling, because these polls don't mean anything right now. The pollsters said this. Michael Tracy did a fantastic article about that for I think it was 538. Or for Real Clear Politics, one of the two. So, Unknown Space Pioneer. The View audience absolutely love Tulsi TYT, are forced to defend paid for talking points. They are bitter. They are bitter. They became what they are. Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah, I believe that. And yeah, Sophia from the network was in the crowd, and she said the same thing, that the crowd mostly loved Tulsi. That's what The View does, though, right? They smear. But yeah, I just had to, this is ridiculous.
Tulsi Gabbard were to like tour the nation talking about climate change or something like that, it would be much better for her.
I forgot about that part. Only if Tulsi Gabbard spent her entire career talking about climate change, that would be so much better for her. Maybe if Tulsi's entire career was sparked by fighting climate change and for the environment, even if she would have maybe even introduced a bill, let's just call it the Off Fossil Fuels Act. Just, by happenstance, let's just call it that. Maybe if she had a piece of legislation that was endorsed by over 400 climate and environmental organizations, which has not been done in the history of the United States of America, only if. I can't. It's hilarious. Oh, it'd be funnier if it wasn't so sad, but it's hilarious. You got to admit.
As defensive as I would be too, I would be. If I was being attacked constantly by Hillary Clinton and on The View, I'd be mad about it too. But if you want to do better pragmatically, how could this possibly be the way to do it?
I totally agree with you. She doesn't focus on policy nearly enough.
Guys, Tulsi doesn't focus on policy nearly enough. And last week, she introduced the resolution to declassify the 9/11 documents that could implicate Saudi Arabia and other parties in 9/11. Actually, in the same week, she introduced legislation to end the regime change war in Syria, using Trump's words, just so the resistors could not make up an excuse for why they wouldn't support the legislation. About a month or so before that, she introduced the Fairness in Media Act to restore the fairness doctrine. About a month or so before that, she introduced for the second time, she introduced the No More Presidential Wars Act that was eventually included in the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, the military budget, so that the president cannot unilaterally conduct military action without a vote for Congress, without being impeached. Before that, the Securing America's Elections Act. Before that, the LGBTQ legislation that she got pushed through, the Equality Act. Before that, and by the way, this is just shit that she introduced while running for president, not for the last 3 years, because there's not been a single person in this race that has introduced more since she's ran for president, let alone in the last 3 years. So I want to be clear about that. This is just what shit she's done in the last year. Okay? So there's a No More President. Before that, the Securing America's Elections Act to address election integrity, to have hand-counted, voter-verified paper ballots that, if you want to speed up the process, can be counted by blockchain open source software. You know what, Tulsi? You just don't focus on policy enough. That is your problem. If only you would stop putting out legislation and just talk about policy more. Why don't you put a bunch of plans up on Medium like Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi? Oh my God. This is pathetic, y'all. But we're going to get through it. We're going to power through.
Nearly enough. And even in the
I see that super chat. TYT just lies about Tulsi. That's their whole game. Absolutely.
debates, I get it. You have branded yourself as the anti-regime change war candidate, even though that claim is shaky when you look at, certain things she's done in the past. But I don't even.
Oh, no. I'm trying to rush past that shit. That claim is shaky. Not even 2 weeks ago, people, Tulsi introduced legislation to end the regime change war in Syria. Not even 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago. But you know who covered it? Not TYT. And that's why they don't know. Because they didn't want to cover it. They don't want you to know the facts about Tulsi. But hey, maybe they're saying, well, that's just a facade. It's not like she's introduced legislation to end regime change war in Syria before, like in 2015 when she introduced legislation to end regime change war. Yeah. She introduced the same legislation. She's updated it since, obviously. But she introduced the same legislation in 2015 before any of these motherfuckers were paying attention to the regime change war in Syria. Who was the one telling everybody that Donald Trump, in advance, to the point, she was so right about Donald Trump creating, and at least the Trump administration creating these fake circumstances to escalate tensions with Iran to conduct another regime change war. Those are Tulsi's words, which she said a month in advance before the administration started doing it. And once they did it and tried to start a military action against Trump, Tulsi was proven right, and George Stephanopoulos and ABC took that interview down because of it, because she predicted it in advance. But hey, I guess we just invent facts. We just invent things now. It's hilarious. What's even funnier about focusing on policy, because y'all know me, I love focusing on policy. I love focusing on policy. And so you know what my question is when it comes to policy, Anna, and for everybody else who likes to try and pretend like Tulsi isn't thorough when it comes to policies. Why hasn't anybody talked about the resolution to end regime change war in Syria? You ever curious about that? Why are there what? How many senators are on stage right now? Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. I think that's it. Might be missing one. Unless Michael Bennet is a senator. I don't think he is. How many senators have co-sponsored? Because that's what Elizabeth Warren lied and said. And it's funny because I said, I'm glad that she said she just wants to take, I want to bring all of our soldiers home from the Middle East. I just want to bring everybody home from the Middle East. Like, got you. Got you. How many of them have co-sponsored or co-introduced a joint resolution to match Tulsi's in the Senate to end the regime change war in Syria? How many? None. Zero. None whatsoever. How many of them co-introduced a joint bill? Because all of these people were still senators last year. How many of them introduced a joint bill for the OFF Act? Oh, but let's pretend that everybody's so much better on climate change now. They're so great on climate change. The Green New Deal. Green New Deal. Oh my God, the Green New Deal. Why don't you say the Green New Deal? If we say it 5 times, carbon just disappears. Green New Deal. Yeah, we had something better than the Green New Deal. And we have something better than the Green New Deal in 2017 and in 2018. And we have how many senators on the stage once again, and how many of them introduced a joint resolution? How many of them talked about it? Interesting. I'm beginning to think, and this just could be me, this could be my bias, but I'm beginning to think, y'all, that this isn't really about policy at all. That's what I'm starting to think. It could be my bias though. Maybe I'm just a Tulsi cultist and I'm making up all these policies that you can get off of the congressional website off the top of my head. Maybe that's it.
I want to get into that right now. She doesn't.
I don't want to get into my lies right now. You're going to say that she's not really a regime change warrior because of some of the stuff she did in the past, but I don't want to really get into that right now. You know who also says that? Whenever any of my girlfriends, we're getting an argument back and forth and I'm right. And they'll go, oh, but we're not talking about that right now. That's exactly what we're talking about. Everybody in the comment section like, you right. Hell yeah, I've been having to deal with that too. That's exactly. Every time somebody is losing an argument, I don't want to talk about that right now. No. That's exactly what the hell we're going to talk about right now. Because you just asserted a claim that the premise of somebody's entire campaign is a lie, and then you try and move on. But I don't want to talk about it right now. This is pathetic. It's pathetic for real.
Focus on policy. She hasn't differentiated herself from any of the other candidates with anything that really stands out. And I think that that's hurt her more than anything else in this race.
Well, really fast on that, I think she's going to be at the November debate. And based on that interaction, based on the
So John knows that Tulsi's going to be at the November debate, but still thinks she's at 1%. Okay. So you're just an idiot. Got it.
Stuff with Hillary, of the few questions they'll give her, and you know that because she's not polling super high, they're not going to ask her 30 questions. She has assured that some big chunk of them are going to be about this.
You're right, John. By Tulsi going on The View, she has assured that some big chunk of these questions are going to be about Hillary insulting Tulsi, where Tulsi gets to call out Hillary. You're right, John. You're right. And who knows? Maybe because the entire political world outside of your fucking bubble despises Hillary Clinton, maybe that's not such a bad strategy after all, John. I don't know what you think this world looks like outside of your bubble in LA, bro, but that's not a bad thing. In case you've been wondering, progressives libertarians, independents, MAGA people, all of us have been waiting for someone to come at Hillary Clinton in the way that Tulsi Gabbard has done, which once again, it will explain her record-breaking fundraising quarter, which explains why she's 5% nationally now, which explains why she's in the November debate to begin with, John. Because she has the balls you don't have. If you think that Tulsi excoriating Hillary Clinton and making headlines again is a bad thing, that I need you to really, really reassess whatever the hell you think is going on in politics. Because I don't think you actually have been paying attention to this political environment. Like what's going on in the world right now. I don't think you've been paying attention. This man, whew, Lord Jesus. I hope he is not somebody's political consultant, because they need to fire him. He got to go. He got to go. This man don't know what the fuck he is talking about.
Other than about her stance on whatever issue you want to bring up. If instead she turned every time that she goes on a show like this from a conversation about that to, you know what, I'm not going to dignify these ridiculous attacks. I'm going to focus on my plan for clean energy, or my plan for education, or my plan for criminal justice. Then maybe that's what they would be asking you at the debate.
First of all, the whole segment was about that interaction with Hillary. So let me just say that. And then she says maybe that's what they'll be asking you at the debate. Huh? Yeah, because they've asked her about her Securing Americans Elections Act at the debate. Every time she pivots away from Russiagate by saying, okay, you think Russiagate is an issue, so why not push my Securing Americans Elections Act through to make sure it never happens again? How did that go for her? They talk about that at the debate? When she talked about her off act on that brilliant interview with Kim Iverson, they talk about that at the debate. What about the No More Presidential Wars Act? The Note to Stop Financing and Arming Terrorism Act? Her Equality Act. Oh, Cory Booker talked about it and got credit for it. However, she was the one who co-introduced it in the House. Didn't get credit for that. Interesting. John, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? They are not stupid. It's all deliberate to malign Tulsi. Yeah, probably.
Next time.
That's a great point.
Yeah, John, you're
I also don't think we should completely discount the probability that they might just be stupid.
kind of getting at the main point of this, which is when we're looking at Tulsi Gabbard's campaign, like we're looking at a couple of other different campaigns, we're ultimately looking at a campaign that isn't really viable for the presidency right now. We had the whole primary process. We got to.
Okay, I don't know who the fuck this dude is. But you gonna pick the stupidest black guy you can find that nobody knows and have him say some dumb shit the first time y'all bring a black guy that nobody knows onto the show? For real? That's what y'all gonna do? See, y'all ain't gonna embarrass us like this. This is why you gotta have black progressives out here on the streets. Boy, you sound stupid as hell. You sound dumb as... You're on the same network that thinks that Elizabeth Warren has a chance to win. Has a chance. She would get obliterated. Not just obliterated, the phonetic pronunciation of obliterated. Obliterated. Bruh. Y'all gonna pick, man, don't be bringing these motherfuckers on here to embarrass black people. Y'all have a habit of doing that shit. The only time they want to bring on black people is when it's a neoliberal. That's the only time they want to bring on black people. Or when it's time to play identity politics. And they think that, oh, you know, we can rightfully critique this woman of color if we bring on a black man to say that she's not viable for the presidency. She has more legislation on the floor than any candidate in the race, you blithering moron. What research have you all done? Have you even watched the town hall? Just one town hall. Have you watched one? Is that too much to ask for a fucking journalist to watch just one singular town hall before, even if, especially you're gonna call yourself progressive, before attacking another progressive? Can you watch one town hall? Just one. Before you make up a whole lot. Is that too much to ask? Probably, I don't know. I guess. I don't know, man. But don't be doing this shit, TYT. Bringing on black people to embarrass themselves. Don't do that.
shop around and look at candidates, but now the rubber's hitting the road and we have to look at who's actually viable. And so with Tulsi Gabbard still being in the campaign, it's mostly to like politically save face. So it's more.
Tulsi Gabbard is in the campaign to politically save face. Once again, despite the fact that she literally shot the fuck up in the polls. Despite the fact that she is once again about to have a record-breaking quarter. She's about to report on a record-breaking quarter. Despite the fact that every time Tulsi opens her mouth, it makes headlines. And that people now feel the need to bring her on the show, even every show, even if it's smearing her because they know that her popularity brings numbers. But she's only in the race to save face. Once again, everybody, and I hate to make, thanks for the super chat, Grandpa Tippy Toes, greatly appreciate it. Pretty cat, by the way, in the profile picture. But I hate to make this comparison, but y'all remember the last time this happened, right? Y'all do remember this. The last time this happened was when they pretended Donald Trump was only in the race for his brand, was only here to make noise and embarrass Republicans, that he wasn't really a viable candidate, that he can never beat Hillary Clinton. That's what they said, right? That he's not really a threat. If we keep showing him nonstop, it'll show just how bad he is. So we'll make him the Pied Piper candidate. We'll show people how bad he is, and all that free coverage, that'll just make Hillary Clinton more viable. All that free coverage, we'll smear him as a Russian asset. That'll make his popularity go down amongst Republicans because they're McCarthyists, right? We'll smear and we'll give him coverage and we'll smear some more, and Hillary Clinton will be the president in 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, how did that work out for them? It did not work out in their favor. Let's just put it that way. And funny enough, Trump actually became more popular after he won, which is crazy to believe, but it's true. He became more popular after he won. And for everybody that wants to tout, well, I won, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million more votes. Yeah, but what the fuck does that mean if most of those votes came from New York and California, which you were going to win anyway? Once again, you idiot. Thanks for the super chat. Who loves Tulsi more, me or you, Niko? It's close. I love Tulsi as a person and as a politician. But it's her policies, man. I love Bernie too. I love Bernie. Bernie the person is a dope guy. Like, he is an awesome man. He is a great mentor. He's done amazing things. He's made incredible sacrifices. And I really like a lot of Bernie's policies still. But Tulsi's policies are unmatched. They're unbeatable. And once again, I don't have to guess whether or not she has a conviction to stand up to the Democratic Party of the DNC to push those policies through. Nor do I have to wonder if she can gain the mandate from the right necessary to get those policies pushed through, just in case Republicans in Congress start trying to pull bullshit. Because when she wins, if she gets through this bullshit primary and gets to the general, she's going to win all 50 states. She's going to win all 50 states. What did I tell y'all about when she was Googled in January? Or I told y'all in January, when she's Googled for the first time after the debate, she's going to be the #1 trending topic on Google. I said that. I said it's going to happen again the second time. Did I not? I said she's going to destroy Kamala Harris a week before it happened. Did I not? Did I not tell y'all this? I told y'all. Pasta told y'all. Fiorella told y'all all this. Before any of it, we told y'all exactly how the damn journalists were going to act. We told you how they were going to lie. We told you how they were going to smear. It's not hard to predict politics if you are realistic and objective in your understanding of how people behave, especially when they have an agenda. And in this business, unfortunately, almost everybody does, positive or negative. My agenda is to get Tulsi Gabbard elected. That's my agenda. But that agenda, once again, has to be objective, because what happens if I tell a lie about somebody, and somebody finds out and I did it in order to boost Tulsi, what's going to happen when that person figures out that I was lying? Because that's what they were doing about Trump. They wouldn't tell the truth about Trump, the real shit he was doing, because they were all guilty of the same thing. But they wanted to lie about Trump. And so a lot of people ended up becoming Trump supporters based off of lies that were told about him, because they got tired of the Democratic Party. So if you think that lying is going to help, yeah, it might help temporarily. It might help in the beginning. But it don't last long. Natalie, thanks for the super chat. They know the truth, but they're pushing the narrative to sway popular opinion. Yeah, because TYT they don't have as much sway over the popular opinion as they once did. That Russiagate shit killed them. Jimmy leaving definitely killed them. And the Tulsi thing, I think, put the nail in the coffin. Not to mention pushing Warren as well. That trap thing, R2D2. Ha, that's creative. I like that. The trap to have her say bring troops home, then confront her with her voting record is how Tulsi should take out Warren in the next debate. And she was going to, by the way, but she got, they cut to commercial. So let's finish this up.
More about what can she do with this time she has right now. The media criticism stuff will do very well to The View. You're right in your point that The View is just a horrible organization considering they have such an audience, and this is what they do with their political coverage is kind of lame. And Tulsi's going to score.
Because they're told to do this with their political coverage. I don't know if y'all saw the last video I did, but I covered how The View was part of the the Department of State's or the State Department's like propaganda machine. It's literally in their documentation, talking about how The View's coverage could be used to get the people behind Secretary Clinton's foreign policy agenda. It's on purpose. It's not bad on accident. It is literally bad on purpose.
Or some really cheap points with her base attacking the media in that way, and she should, because she's been smeared by Hillary in that way. But ultimately, when you look at her campaign, what is this about? This is just like mostly for saving her own face. It's not really about making use.
That doesn't make any sense. It's for she has a guaranteed seat in Congress. She has like, you don't understand. People think that this is the first time the establishment tried to run somebody against Tulsi. They tried to run multiple people against Tulsi the last go around. I don't know if you all remember the whole WikiLeaks thing, but they also, like I said, they ran a bunch of people against her. They spent a lot of money trying to beat her. Guess what happened? Guess what? She won 70% of the vote. You know the last time Tulsi won by a margin of less than 20 points? You know the last time it happened? Oh, fuck. That's right. It's literally never happened. She's been running for office since she was 21 years old. She's 38, has done everything from city council to congresswoman, has deployed in the middle of running, gave up the seat, came back and got the bitch back. She took the seat back when she got back from deployment. Other than Obama, who was only counted as a Hawaii politician because he was quite literally born there, but then of course he left. Other than Obama, Tulsi is the most popular candidate in the history of Hawaii. She could run for Senate and still win. She has a 70% approval rating amongst Hawaiians. And that's even with her family's controversial history and it being a blue state. They know her dad was a Republican. Tulsi's so damn good at her job, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. Because she is genuine, sincere, and once again, is the most popular politician in the history of the state. And you think that she ran for office and is still running to save face? That makes no sense. That makes literally no sense. What the fuck? He just had to say something. I guess he wanted to feel included. I don't know. Did he just want to feel included? I don't know.
Of the time she has, which I think would be a better way to do this. She made a pretty good fork for herself as being like, I'm going to be the anti-war candidate. I'm going to try to stand up for regime change. That obviously didn't really hold up to scrutiny that much. But even as a single issue candidate,
that didn't hold up to scrutiny. What scrutiny? What scrutiny? Where are they making? They're literally making shit up. the home of the progressives. Okay.
Campaign is not really going very well.
Thanks for watching The Young Truth.
Okay, the campaign isn't going that well. This is what we're dealing with, people. Nate Dogg, thanks for the super chat. I wish Tulsi would call out Obama on drone strikes. Believe it or not, I'm worried that if she called out Obama on drone strikes. Oh, by the way, she's called out Obama a lot in her town halls. If you do not watch her town halls, subscribe to her YouTube page. There are people who have become addicted to watching Tulsi's town halls now. I'm not joking, because they are that good. The woman, I mean, she's just a stellar candidate. She is everything that we have been hoping for and wanting. But as far as her calling out Obama, remember last time she called out Obama? And this is something that I discussed briefly the other night, and I'll bring it up again here for a second. Remember the last time she called out Obama? There's a clip that is always ripped and cut off where she says Obama needs to stop calling these people moderate rebels and call them Islamic extremists. You remember that clip? That's Anna's whole basis for saying that Tulsi is Islamophobic. Then remember, it was in her little 2-minute what's that shit called? No filter, where it's literally, I mean, it's a filter. It's literally a filter of the facts. It's the filter that Anna wants to put on them. Everybody remembers that because it's been pushed so hard by TYT and all the little proxies. What they don't talk about is the context of that conversation and what was actually being discussed. Tulsi has been very open to telling the people the truth about what's happening in Syria and the rest of the Middle East, which is that we are funding directly and indirectly Al-Qaeda and ISIS. What she was calling out Obama for was what she's calling out Trump for, and is what she called out Hillary Clinton for, and what she will call out the next president for if it is not her. She was calling out Obama for claiming that he is funding moderate rebels, understanding from her personal experiences and what she knew that we are not funding moderate rebels, we are funding literal extremists. That is what she was talking about. However, what's the best way to ignore the fact that our government, specifically one of the most, at this point, most popular president in history, unfortunately, you got to cover up for the fact that he's funding Al-Qaeda, that he's funding ISIS, or at least approving the funding for those groups. You got to cover up for that. So what do you do? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you do every other time you want to detract from the fact that a Democrat is basically warmongering and lying? What do? You play identity politics. You gaslight. Oh my God, Tulsi's such an Islamophobe. She's such an Islamophobe. Now, we don't talk about the fact that Obama was just as guilty as funding terrorism as Trump was. Now, we have to spend most of our time debunking what? The fact that Tulsi is very clearly not an Islamophobe. That's what they did. So that's what it was always about. It's Tulsi, and by the way, this is still around the same time that Tulsi introduced the bill to end regime change war in Syria. She had such an understanding of that situation before any of us did. That's how clairvoyant she is when it comes to foreign policy. And it's not a coincidence at this point. I think we can all agree. She literally predicted the Iran situation to a T, and her prediction, along with a couple of strokes of luck, prevented a World War III from happening because we were all prepared for it. Everybody on the left and the right called bullshit immediately on escalating tensions with Iran. So Trump couldn't do anything. Boom. It's that simple. The lies that my legitimate critique, like I said, what my legitimate critique of Tulsi is. So I'll give you one. I don't think she should have voted yes on that anti-BDS legislation or the resolution. I understand why she did it, and I get it because there was a situation. There were multiple situations around the country where there was no precedent set, and people were about to be prosecuted for BDS. So they used that to their advantage to make people vote for it, even if you were against BDS, or even if you were against BDS. And even though she had co-sponsored Elon's bill, she knew they don't ever let Elon get bills through. They know that. She knows that. So even though she had co-sponsored it, she still co-sponsored that just in case. But I think she should have not voted for it at all. That was my critique. I didn't like when she defended Joe Biden. I felt 100% like it was about the fact that she had deployed with Biden's son. And so she's trying her best to be cordial to her dead friend's dad. I don't agree with that. I believe that we should call people out. Even, she's all about aloha. She doesn't lie or smear. So I believe we should call people out accordingly when they're lying or leading this country in the wrong direction. I disagreed with that vehemently. And I let her know that personally. I disagreed. Well, I didn't really disagree with the Bush thing because I understood where she was coming from the beginning. But I disagree with normalizing war criminals in any capacity. But I understand what Tulsi was saying. But I told her, like I said, you can't do that. You can't do that because so Tulsi was responding to the initial reaction, which is that people were only mad at Ellen because Bush is a Republican. Progressives were mad about the war criminal shit. The rest of the world don't give a fuck about that. Like, let's be real. It was all about the Democrat versus Republican division that neoliberals push. That's what you think Ellen is like, or the Hollywood elite are concerned with war crimes. Like, that's what they were responding. Come on, bro. Like, let's be real. They didn't have any problem with war crimes under Obama. They had no problem with war crimes under Bush. They just didn't like Bush because he's a Republican. War crimes are okay as long as you play for the same team. Don't y'all know this? However, I got on Tulsi for the same reason I got on Bernie when he defended Biden. Do not normalize war criminals in any capacity. Period. At all. And that's why they keep getting away with it. One of the people in my comment section made a brilliant quote. You murder one person, you end up in jail. You murder hundreds of thousands, you get reelected. That is a culture that we have built. So I disagree with her there. We can't normalize war criminals. The Obama thing, I actually do agree with her there because cancel culture has gotten ridiculous and Tulsi has been a victim of this fake outrage in cancel culture. It's unproductive. It hasn't really been used in a genuine way. It's only been used to create narratives, fake narratives a lot of the time, to cancel out people who others perceive as a threat. Progressives and social justice warriors specifically have been the worst about this. It's authoritarian in nature. So, that's about it, actually. This election, that's all I've disagreed with her about. But there were legitimate critiques. Now, I've critiqued plenty of stuff from her past, but that's not unique for her. I've critiqued everybody's past. And at least if it's over the last 4 or 5 years, then I've critiqued it. Nate Dahl, thanks for the super chat. And because Obama never spoke out against things like Wahhabism and Islam, right, Niko? They are like the Westboro Baptist Church. Actually, I don't believe. Well, no, because I mean, he was propping up Saudi Arabia just as much as Trump is, and it's crazy how Trump has this Muslim ban. That shit ain't apply to Saudi Arabia though, did it? Mm-hmm. What a coincidence. Nor did it apply to Qatar. Nor did it apply to Jordan. Interesting. Think that's going to be it. You said Cenk didn't predict that Trump will win. You're right. Cenk did not predict that Trump will win. I predicted Trump will win in March of 2016, though. I did. Because I saw what was happening on the ground, and people that I know on the ground, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, they were never going to vote for Hillary. I knew that from the beginning. I knew how people talk about how important NAFTA is all the time at the time. Nobody wanted to hear it. When is the squad signing Tulsi's Syria resolution? I don't know, Manny. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But the squad is so progressive. They don't play politics, right? They don't play politics. Oh, by the way, isn't it hilarious how there are so many people that, well, one, they're surprised that Ayanna Pressley endorsed Warren. Didn't I say here on this channel, Ayanna Pressley's going to endorse Warren? Ayanna Pressley is formerly part of the Massachusetts establishment. I've said this. I did, even when I covered her in a positive light. I'm like, she's formerly part of the Massachusetts establishment. She unseated a progressive. People don't know that. She unseated a progressive after the district was redistricted in the middle of that progressive's term to include more people of color, which isn't, it isn't inherently a bad thing, but it obviously favored Ayanna. Warren did not endorse in that race as she had in the past because Ayanna was running. And then, of course, she campaigned with Ayanna and is seen speaking with Ayanna. And not to mention, let's be very honest. I mean, Ayanna is still a black woman who considers herself progressive. And if Ayanna would have endorsed Bernie over Warren, oh, she would have gotten it. They would have taken her seat away from her in Massachusetts, the establishment. You know, black women aren't allowed to speak for themselves. Come on, you know that. Not in the Democratic Party. What do you think this is? Think it's the independents? No. You think they care about black people in it? No. You get squashed if you're a black woman. Look at what they did to Nina. Look at what they did to Nina. Okay, you think they stopped her from speaking at an event she was scheduled to speak at the DNC, at the Democratic National Convention in Philly? You think they won't take Ayanna's seat? Now, here's the thing about Ayanna. With a few exceptions, she's actually voted lockstep with the squad, but made it very clear multiple times before she ever got elected she does not like Bernie for whatever reason that may be. She might have a phobia of old white guys because of her personal struggles coming up in life. Legitimately, I truly believe that there is an element to some people that because of their view of Bernie is warped because of their personal experiences that women of any color, any race, any ethnicity, any nationality, they go through in this white male patriarchy that we live in. So Bernie might be a triggering figure to, like Bernie saying, I can solve all your problems. I'm the answer for black people. That might be triggering to her. And that is a legitimate thing, by the way. Like I spent much of 2016 breaking people out of that mindset. Just because Ayanna endorsed Warren does not mean that you can just, oh, she's not part of the squad anymore. Because that means the only it had nothing to do with policy because once again, she's been basically in lockstep with them on progressive policies in the House. And I've given her credit for that. I'm the only one actually who's given her credit for that. But just because she endorsed Warren, oh, now she's not part of the squad. Oh, that's crazy. Because for 8 months, AOC has been propping up Warren over Bernie. Yeah, she didn't say, I endorse her. No, that's not what she said. She just gave her TV time, social media time, propped her up, gave her, Warren did so well. I remember when she was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And, oh, Warren did so well during the debates. I was so impressed with her. Remember that? But did y'all take her out of the squad? No, just because she said she endorsed Bernie. So your only requisite for being part of the squad is endorsing Bernie? Or is it progressivism? I'm confused. Because, yeah, you can say that she made a mistake by endorsing Warren, and I think 98% of progressives would agree with you. And I believe that even the squad, to a degree, would agree with you. But does that mean we cut off Rashida Tlaib for taking money from J Street and being endorsed by J Street? Is she gone now? She got off the squad? Or whenever AOC says, I'll defer to the Democratic caucus on matters of Venezuela. And we know that means regime change. Is she off the squad? Or when Ilan refused to acknowledge the Armenian genocide not even a week ago, is she off the squad too? There ain't no squad left, y'all. Ain't no squad left. That's the cancel culture I'm talking about. This isn't a situation. If Ayanna starts taking corporate money, we get her. That's it. She's done. We appreciate progressive votes, but you're not going to call yourself a progressive while taking their money. That's a different discussion. Because you can't have two masters, if you will. You can't be a master. The people can't be you can't serve the people and serve the corporations. You can't do both. That's a different discussion. But that's not what it is. She did something that could hurt Bernie. Therefore, she is not a member of the squad. Interesting. And it would be different if y'all would have given her credit for the shit she had done in the past. I might not be as quick to try and defend her on this particular issue, but y'all haven't even acknowledged the progressive things she has done in the past. This last last year or so, she's been really good. She's been bad on Israel, and that's about it. But once again, Rashida Tlaib took J Street money. Okay. So so now we're gonna pretend. AOC was actually on the board for Justice Democrats and didn't tell anybody, and then the FEC made her step down recently. This is a recent thing. She just got forced to step down. And she was playing silly this entire time. I don't know, I just got put in for it, and I was never even really into politics like that. And I just tried it and we were good. But AOC being on the board of Justice Democrats, you don't think that has anything to do with how much money was funneled to her over the other campaigns that needed money in the Justice Democrats? You don't think that has anything to do with that? You don't think that has anything to do with the fact that she looked left while Chakra Barty, her former chief of staff and co-founder of the Justice Democrats, unilaterally transferred millions of dollars from the Justice Democrats to brand new Congress PAC and didn't tell anybody, nor did he go to the board to do so? Did she look the other way? You don't think that has anything to do with that? Why pretend like you were in control of the operations of the Justice Democrats this entire time? And that includes monetary operations, and didn't say anything about it. Bernie isn't on the board of Our Revolution. Nina is. And guess what happened when Nina started helping Bernie, not even running for office. Nina started helping Bernie and she stepped down from Our Revolution until she is finished with her job. And if Bernie wins, it is a good possibility that until Bernie is out of office, Nina will still not participate in Our Revolution in any direct manner. So once again, are we gonna call all the spades, or are we just picking and choosing which ones we want to cancel? Because I can give pretty damn good reasons to cancel all of them, but I'm also not I'm not cancel culture. I'm not about that. We could have been and should have probably, honestly, we could have been canceled AOC. We've had plenty of reasons to. We really have. Her support of Warren while ignoring Tulsi alone is enough. And remember, she's been calling Warren progressive. Warren's on our team. Uplifting Bernie's biggest competition. It was always Warren. Kamala for a different reason, but like we always said, that once Kamala's gone, Warren's going to be it. We've been saying this. So what is it about? How many times has AOC defended Nancy Pelosi? So do we cancel her? Do we cancel her for that? Well, how many times has Bernie defended Biden? Bernie literally campaigned with Hillary. We gonna cancel him for that? No. He believed pragmatically it was the right thing to do. Do I say you have to trust these people with all of your heart and soul? No, that's not what I'm saying. That's silly. Don't do that shit. But what I am saying is, you don't get to pick and choose when you want to. Because that's all cancel culture is, right? Picking and choosing when you want to be outraged. Natalie, thanks for the super chat. Oh, I appreciate it. Love you too. I sincerely appreciate it. Oh, I feel like I missed something. Did I miss it? Convo couch. That's pasta, isn't it? Tulsi is wrong on the impeachment. Yeah, I mean, I don't really disagree with that. You know I don't disagree with that, but I appreciate the super chat. Shout out to Pasta in the Combo Couch. Make sure you go check them out. They're going to be doing some crazy Epstein stuff. So make sure you go check them out. But yeah, so that's like my biggest thing with this whole cancel culture shit is that it's always been selective. It's always been. Tulsi isn't for Medicare for all. She wants private insurance, but it's like, hold on, but don't y'all justify. Remember when they first canceled Tulsi on Medicare for all? The first time? We're on like what, the 8th now? The first time it was because she's okay with private insurance in Medicare for all. And Medicare for Bernie said on MSNBC, no middle ground. Remember? No private insurance. None. And then we pull up the bill. And it says there is probably, even though it said that non-duplicative, that wasn't the argument being made. They didn't even know what the fuck duplicative meant. Okay, let's be clear. This bill has been out for quite some time. And they had no idea what non-duplicative meant. It was always going to have private insurance. But that's what they canceled her for, because it just because she mentioned the word private insurance. Until they found out, oh shit, Bernie has private insurance in his bill too. Let's goalpost. Got to move that goalpost. So now it's all about the non-duplicative coverage. That's what makes it single payer. Don't you know that? If it has duplicative coverage, what about the fact that you can opt out of Bernie's Medicare for All network? Huh? You said what? You can do. Hold up. Let me move that goalpost one more time. Well, it's actually things like it's you can't have private and single a government payer, because that's actually if you that's not Medicare for all. If you have or single payer, if you have a private and a government, that's not even really single payer. Oh, really? Well, come here real quick. So what do you call a piece of legislation that gets paid for by Medicaid, Medicare, Medigap, and the private insurance companies who can contract with providers outside of the Medicare for All network? That would be a multi-payer system, right? Because that's exactly what Bernie's bill is. Oh, well, well, fuck Tulsi. She just canceled. I don't give a fuck about her. She's a lying ass, Tulsi, Hindu, nationalist. You're a cultist. They don't know what they're even mad at anymore, bruh. Fernando Fernandez. We need to start talking about Tulsi's domestic policies. People don't know how she supports. Once again, and this is something that I've talked about in the past, but if you watch her town halls, she does talk about it. But the problem is, in her interviews, she gets smeared. And so her entire interview ends up being defending herself against smears. So, but that's something that she's supposed to be working on. She just went on. She went on Breitbart, right? For an interview, which is like, okay, don't really care. She needs to go on every single public, every single outlet she can. Bernie understands this as well. So people were mad about this. How can you? I understand Fox News, but Breitbart, bro, that's the same shit. Breitbart is Fox News for right-leaning libertarians. That's all Breitbart is. It's the same thing. It's just as bad. And guess what? Bernie, if he was smart and was offered an interview, he better do the same damn thing. And what's funny is specifically a conversation about immigration. Now remember, whenever she went on Dave Rubin, they said, how dare she accept the right-wing framing of Democrats advocating for open borders? Like, how dare she? How dare she do something? No Democrat wants open borders. But that's not what she said. She said they were advocating for it because they were trying to dupe a lot of leftists into believing that that's the case. Because there are a lot of leftists, especially those sympathetic to the pro-immigration movements that are for open borders. So that's why they use the dog whistle. Just like there are a lot of leftists who are for Medicare for all, so they pretend like they're for Medicare for all, but they're not really. Tulsi understands that, and that's what she basically said. But on this Breitbart interview, right after, so mind you, not even a couple of months ago, they were mad at her for accepting the right-wing framing, and they were suggesting, Anna specifically, that no Democrat is for an open border. Okay. So now she goes on Breitbart, and they're having a conversation about immigration. She says, you know what? There's nothing wrong with a nation with secure borders. Oh my God. Why is she pitching this right-wing talking point that Democrats are okay with secure borders? Okay, hold up, motherfucker. What? I'm confused. I am confused. At first, we were mad at her for even suggesting, despite the words of the Democrats, that Democrats want open borders. She even suggesting that meant she was accepting the right-wing framing rather than just, basic observation. But now we're mad at her for saying, as a Democrat, well, I want secure borders. Oh my God, that's a right-wing talking point. So is Bernie using right-wing talking points too when he says very clearly and candidly, oh, no, I'm not for open borders. Absolutely not. We do need a secure border. A lot of our policies that we want to enact are not possible without a secure border. It wasn't a right-wing talking point when Bernie said it. That's so interesting. Gek 1111. That's the super chat. Appreciate it. But that's crazy, right? That's so crazy. When Tulsi spoke up to call out, it was mostly to call out Elizabeth Warren, but and Kamala for playing identity politics. And by the way, the part that doesn't get discussed is that Tulsi was absolutely right about Elizabeth Warren and Kamala playing identity politics to try and disparage Biden, because ultimately Kamala had been just as guilty of what she had claimed Biden was guilty of. So that was funny. But whenever she said what she said about Biden in that one moment, what is she trying to do? Beat Biden's VP? Did people say that Bernie was trying to be Warren's VP whenever he wrote the letter for Center to American Progress? An open letter. Calling out Neera Tanden and CAP to defend Warren? Did anybody say that he's trying to be Warren's VP? Curious. I'm just like, I just find this all incredibly hilarious. It's disturbing, but it is really giving us a glimpse into just how problematic the left has become. We can be just as hypocritical as we claim the right is. The left likes to consider themselves to be the ideology of scholarship in fact, in policy, in statistics, and numbers. We like to consider ourselves the intelligent ideology. We think that. We like to consider ourselves to be the objective ideology, right? We like to think that we don't have sexism on the left as much as we do on the right. We like to think that racism is not prominent on the left as much as it is on the right. We like to think that. But I mean, I just got done covering a network that tried to convince us that Hillary was any better for black people than Trump was. The same one who called us super predators just to get us locked up so she can boost her stocks in the private prison industry. We like to think that the patriarchy isn't as dominant, doesn't rear its ugly head as often on the left as it does on the right. And yet, we're seeing, once again, as so many women, especially younger women that are trying to climb the ladder in the corporate world, I'm sure they can attest to this. When you are, everything is a gotcha. You're not being interviewed because they think they are realistically trying to give you the job. Every question is a gotcha. Gotcha. Told you you're not ready for this. Every woman that has lost their job or lost an interview to a white guy who is not anywhere close to as good as their job, as they are at their job, they know exactly what Tulsi is going through. Every woman who has been paid less to do the exact same thing knows exactly what Tulsi is going through. Every woman, hell, I don't even like Katie Hill, but what Katie Hill is going through wasn't really fair. She's being held to a different standard. She was being held to a different standard. Katie Hill gets excoriated for a personal relationship issue in personal pictures that were taken of her, that if you look at the pictures, it looks like that she didn't even give consent for those pictures to be taken in the privacy of her own home. And yet, Bill Clinton was on Epstein's plane 21 times. 21 times. Even with the Al Franken situation, that didn't happen because the left was trying to hold him accountable. It was because the right wouldn't let it go. So he had to resign. Butterspeak21, thanks for the super chat. What are open border dog whistles? Legitimately confused about this whole thing. So open border dog whistles sound like we need to get rid of ICE altogether, but they don't say what a replacement should be. They talk about everything wrong with ICE, but they don't say if there should be a replacement, nothing like that. Another thing is we want to give health care to everybody. Not saying like, hey, you need to be on a legitimate path to citizenship first. You can't just do whatever you want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like all these type of things. And then they attack Trump for, it's like when they attack Trump for healthcare. Trump is trying to take 50 million people off healthcare. And that's why we need to have universal healthcare, universal access to affordable healthcare. They do everything but say exactly what they're advocating for, but they use all the things. So like if you're in, like I said, if you're in the immigration movement, then they use these dog whistles that you would readily identify. Same thing if you're in the Medicare for All movement. But also if you're deep into these movements, of course you are aware and can recognize dog whistles. But what Tulsi is experiencing, this double standard that we have seen put on her. What makes it bad is, right? I think that we can all agree that there's a certain truth to the fact that any progressive outside of Bernie was going to be subject to attack, right? They were always going to be overly criticized. They were always going to be held to a different standard. And that's a true statement. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But how they attack her and how they critique her, how they weaponize the patriarchy and the sexist tropes to undermine her, that is what is sexist. That is, and you can, when people say that, if a gentleman likes Tulsi as a candidate better than Bernie, then it must be because of her looks. How many times have you as a woman said or been told, if you're conventionally attracted, that woman only got that job because of her looks. That woman only got that position because of who she is. That woman must be sleeping with somebody. That's how she got that job. She couldn't have been the most qualified candidate for the job. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. It couldn't possibly be because Tulsi's the most qualified candidate for the damn job. Couldn't be that. I just gave you another example of this ridiculous double standard. First, it was mad. They were mad because they said Democrats are advocating for open borders when they're supposed, and when they do not want open borders, which that part is true. They do not want open borders, but they pretend like they do. But then, on the other side of that fence, they get mad at Tulsi for saying we need secure borders. Now that's the right wing talking point. I'm confused. Which one is it? Which one is it? I'm serious. So if we're going to like, I think that's a huge, we have a philosophical issue, a structural and philosophical breakdown on the left, where we think if we act righteous and high and mighty, that erases and hides the reality of all of the problems that exist on the left that we pretend only exist on the right. I have been a victim of racism from the left multiple times. I've had people use racist tropes against me on the left multiple times. I've had people try. I was going back and forth with some white guy, and he immediately started playing victim and was trying to pretend like I was going to go beat him up. He tried to pretend like he was fear. Oh, this is in a Facebook interaction. Oh, what you gonna do? You gonna come beat me up because we disagree? I'm like, huh? What the fuck are you talking about? But that's what they do. They play victim. White guys specifically, by the way. That is a white guy thing. And let's be real. No offense, my fellow white gentlemen who watch the show, but y'all know there's some sensitive ass motherfuckers out there that the first thing they do is they make themselves a victim of me. They got that Trump syndrome. Every time something is said, somehow Trump is the victim. I don't know how the hell he does that all the time, but but that's the thing. Anytime another black, like, just as an example, how I've gotten good at acknowledging these and recognizing these tropes. Another thing that they do with black men specifically is that when you're getting them on policies, when you're getting them on facts, when your logic is sound, what they'll try and do is they'll try and use a trope to insult your intelligence and assert, like, how dare you, a black male, dare challenge me, a white male with status. So when, for example, Michael Brooks got called out because I took his video, his words, put it beside the actual facts, and proved that he was a liar. And what he did was comment to tell me how, he commented back and forth with me first. And then whenever I schooled his ass, it was, I'm bored with this. I'm just too bored with this. This isn't worth my time. Oh, now it's not worth your time. When you thought you were right and you thought you were going to one up me, it was worth your time. It ain't worth your time after that when you get caught out. Then they try and say that that's their cop-out, is I'm not engaging this black man or this black woman or this Latino because I'm a white dude. What the fuck I look like? I don't have to prove myself to them. And they will lie. You have no idea. And some of my woke white folks, I'm sure they can tell you because they witnessed it for themselves. And I know there are a lot of my friends, for example, that call it out to their faces. You have no idea how many white males specifically. White women do it too sometimes, but it's in a different way. But white males specifically will lie straight to your face. And they know that once they have a certain setup, right? Once they have certain clout that has been given to them by generally other white guys, they know they can lie to you to your face. And you will believe them first, even if it sounds off to you, because they know that white men have a certain luster where people assume that they have the authority to speak on issues that they don't have the authority to speak on. Because we've been conditioned in America specifically. I can't speak for every other country, but in America, we've always, why do you think the white knight is always that's the one that comes to save the day, comes to defend or defeat the black knight. This is something that has been conditioned into us to believe that the white knights are the only ones capable of saving the day. That is conditioned into us at a very young age throughout the history of this country. And guess what? Especially the intelligent ones, the white guys know it. That's why Michael Brooks will look at you dead in your fucking face and lie. That's why John Ayatollah will look at you dead in your fucking face and lie. That's why Cenk, even though he's Turkish, he's still a white guy. I mean, shit. Look at Hassan. Hassan's Turkish too, and he's still a white guy. You can be a different nationality and still be white. Just in case y'all didn't know. Go to Brazil. You find that out real quick. Or go to Venezuela or Colombia. You'll find that out real fast. But you have these things where people get to a certain level of prosperity and they have a certain level of brand awareness that they know I can say what the fuck I want to and people will believe me anyway. And if it helps my agenda, then I'll like when they're think about it like this. We are familiar with the progressive YouTube world at this point. How many of the white progressives looked at you dead in your face and tried to pretend like Hillary, once again, was better for black people than Trump? Knowing what she said about super predators, knowing about the private prison industry that she was still actively profiting from, knowing about Haiti, knowing about Libya, knowing everything that they knew, knowing everything. And they looked at you dead in your face to justify them pushing and supporting Hillary. And so, well, you guys have to. If you don't, you're really a racist because Hillary is clearly better. And people believed it. How many times David Pakman look at you straight in your fucking face, use identity politics in a disingenuous way, and you know people believed it. I had to call out Kyle, and I love Kyle. I know Kyle's my boy. That is I disagree with Kyle on a lot of shit when it comes to the elections. But I don't have to worry about Kyle lying on Tulsi to defend his point. He might embellish about Bernie a little bit. Okay, that's his prerogative. That's the candidate he endorsed, and he's open about that. But he's not going to do a segment to lie about Tulsi to boost Bernie. That's a difference. So I don't have an issue with that. It's my job to correct that on my show. But whenever Kyle pushed this whole, remember the reparations conversation where Bernie was wrong and Nina admitted Bernie was wrong and Nina had to push him left on that issue. Kyle said, oh, we can't talk about that. We can't, and he came up with a bunch of different fucking excuses. He came up with a lot of excuses. They were excuses. But the excuses were to do what? To defend Bernie because Bernie was wrong on the issue. And he can't say that Bernie, the candidate that is best for black people, is wrong on reparations. So what did he do? Bernie used his white knighthood. I mean, not Bernie, Kyle. He used his white knighthood. Like I said, does he do it on purpose? I don't know. I don't believe Kyle's a nefarious guy, obviously. But that's what he did. He's like, man, I had this platform. I have these people who believe me no matter what. And I know that they'll take the analysis I give here today and use it. Despite the fact I'm not black and I have nothing to do with reparations, my family has nothing to do with reparations, and I cannot benefit one way or another in any way, form, or fashion for reparations. It can't change my life. It can't change the life of my family. But I know this, that when my white knight ass makes this analysis to protect Bernie on his stance on reparations, I know that all my other little white followers will go out and spread that message. And he was wrong on that. And I said that in the video I did. Because I told him just as a simple example, how many people were against Medicare for All until Bernie told the truth about Medicare for All? It was like 32%, and now it's like 70%. So, but why did he think he could do that? Why do you think that Kyle could feel that I can be so egregiously wrong in my defense of Bernie, to the point where you like, bruh, if the roles were reversed and this was Tulsi, luckily she supports reparations. But if the roles were reversed and I'm a black man trying to defend Tulsi for not supporting reparations, oh boy. You notice that Nina did not defend Bernie's stance on reparations at all. Notice that. Notice Cornel West did not defend Bernie's stance on reparations. Notice that Killer Mike did not defend Bernie's stance on reparations, and they're his surrogates. Because they knew better. But Kyle, knew, once again, as much as I love Kyle knew that his white knighthood would suffice as a shield for Bernie's problematic stance on that particular issue regarding race. How many times, really reflect on this, how many times have you seen white knights in the progressive movement pretend like they care about race than the people who are affected by racism, and pretend as if they have the answers? How many? How many people will pretend like they care about race and global racial solidarity? Fucking Brooks. And then malign Maduro, where the black people in Venezuela and the mestizos in Venezuela unanimously support this man because he's the only one who treated them with any dignity. What? So if it's about global racial solidarity, like they always try to bullshit and pretend like it's about, why is it that every leader who has the black support or the minority support or the support of the marginalized, why is it that y'all don't like them when it's time to, and y'all are democratic socialists? Yeah, right. It's all a facade, bro. These motherfuckers are not about solidarity. Where you see Michael Brooks at? Michael Brooks goes to his show and then he goes home to his studio. Where you see Sam Cedar at? Even he's even worse. Where he goes to his little live show and they go home. Where you see fucking Pod Save America? What's the other fucking podcast? Chapo Trap House. These people who do not who put no black people in their employment, have no women in their employment. Shit. As far as Sam Cedar, Chapo Trap House, and Pod Save America go, they have no minorities in their employment. And yet want to preach to the world about solidarity. About how they just know what's best for racism and race in this country. Because they've been leading by example, right? You can tell a lot about somebody by who they keep around them, who they prop up, who they don't prop up, who they celebrate, and who they ignore. You can tell a lot about people from that. Because, I mean, you look at my network, we look like the United Nations. Black man, Brazilian woman, Peruvian male, and a white guy. Or two white guys, including Robbie. We got hell like the United Nations. And we don't play the identity politics bullshit. Y'all know that. So where are you at on these solidarity movements? Where are you at in the streets? I got my videos. I got my receipts. Fiorella and Pasta got their videos and they got their receipts. Not to mention their own personal, Fiorella and Johnny as Peruvians have their own personal thing they deal with. Like eminently, they had to flee regime change in Peru. Sophia, same thing. Like I said, she's Brazilian, and she's Brazilian and Mexican. She had her own thing to deal with. Natalie Chill, Latinas only love me because they think I'm Dominican. That's the only reason they like me. But these people, you don't ever see them around. Like, where they be at? I'll tell you the same thing I told them about Cory Booker. When Cory Booker started, all of a sudden, Cory Booker from the hood. All of a sudden. I'm gonna tell you the same thing I said about Cory Booker. Michael Brooks ain't never been on barbecue. Well, I don't see Michael at no damn barbecue. I ain't never seen Michael at the barbecue. I ain't seen him at the skating rink on Fridays. I ain't seen him at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I ain't seen him at a Popeyes or a Church's. I ain't seen him at a KFC, which we used to do back in the day. I ain't seen him nowhere. Sam clearly has given Michael more clout than he deserves just by, guilt by association. What have they done? Where have you been at? You have the ability to go on all these different channels. Better yet, you have a platform where you could bring on and uplift minority voices, minorities in the progressive movement. What have you done to amplify? Renston, thank you very much. CTH is the ID Paul Central and was that Chapo Trap House? Oh yeah. CDH is the ID Central and constantly antagonizes the ID Paul exploitation. I can't stand their bullshit, and they have to shoot it down constantly. Yeah, I've heard. Elijah, appreciate you. Here's for the super chat. Kyle's hitting Tulsi indirectly, saying at least Elizabeth Warren isn't for Medicare choice. He hasn't updated his rhetoric and did this in the middle of his. Oh yeah, I know. Like I said, he be embellishing. He be embellishing. Don't get it twisted. I know who he's. I also know that Kyle knows, despite what he'll say. I know Kyle knows that Tulsi's Bernie's biggest threat. That's why he doesn't. Kyle, if you ever go to a Tulsi video that he did back in the day, whenever he would cover Tulsi, if you ever go to his comment section, you know exactly why Kyle don't tell the truth about Tulsi anymore. Because Kyle's comment sections would light up with Tulsi 2020. Man, you just made me want to vote for Tulsi. And he like, shit, I got way too many subscribers to be telling the truth about Tulsi. If I tell the truth about Tulsi, it's over. So I know what time it is. I know. Like I said, Kyle's my boy, but that don't mean now I can't correct him every now and then. He and to be fair, when he came onto my channel and we debated, he was very clear that I don't want to assert any false narratives or untruths. But this is what I heard about Tulsi, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So it ain't like he's not willing to be corrected. But I won't say that he will not play. I can't say that he won't feign ignorance from time to time if he believes it'll help Bernie. So, I don't think, like I said, it's just and for those of you who are wondering where this conversation even stemmed from, I was supposed to finish up like forever ago, but I like talking to y'all. But this conversation stemmed from the fact that TYT loves to try and play identity politics when they want to, only if it achieves their goal. They like to claim the sexism and the patriarchy and all that shit. But once again, it's that, what's that, second wave feminism? Is that what it is? Is that second wave feminism? White feminism, basically? Can't remember. So it's just crazy to me how you have so many people believe it, because everybody wants to believe that they're on the correct side of the social justice movement because it's trendy now, right? It's for the first time in history, it seems to be trendy to be on the correct side of the social justice movement. It's all the rage now. Yeah, except for it would be nice if we were actually trying to follow through, like substantively. Like it would be nice if it was more than words, like I just said. You got Michael Brooks, you got Chopper Trap House, you got all these people. And that's one thing I love about, for example, the Hill Rising with Crystal Ball and Sagar. Shout out to them. You see how the array of personalities, backgrounds, left, right, they bring on everybody and anybody to let you express your opinion and give your unique perspective. Didn't even have to be asked. Remember, TYT came under scrutiny and eventually finally put on a black person, and specifically a black woman, on their main show occasionally because they were getting torn up. And people just started noticing it. But when you have people like Michael Brooks, oh, we care about global solidarity with race movements and labor. No, you don't. Oh my God, we care about Muslims and we care about. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. I believe that, bruh, real talk. Before Kim Iverson came into the game, you had Anna, who was only popular because of TYT, and let's be very clear about that, who was working for a mainstream organization before that, so let's be clear about that as well. So you had Anna, and where were all the other women at? Where were the women at that were getting regular FaceTime and having their channels promoted by these social justice warriors? Where are they at? I brought on Fee and amplified Fee, and she's crushing it now. Then I brought on Sophia, and then I helped out Kim Iverson immediately because I, once again, felt like we needed more women in the progressive circle as far as the commentary part is concerned. And then Jimmy did his part as well. Jimmy's done his part on this front multiple. Once again, Jimmy is separated in almost every way from the rest of these clowns. Jimmy felt the same way and immediately elevated Kim when he could. I brought on Sophia for the exact same reason. She was great at what she did, and there are not enough men who will reach out to these young women who have potential unless they want to get into their pants, basically. That's the only time they'll reach out to them. But what have these white knights who supposedly care so much about making sure we're just inclusive and non-exclusive in our spaces? We want to make sure we elevate people. We want to make sure we elevate these problems. Nah, no you don't. Because Kim Iverson is infinitely, now on YouTube specifically, more popular than Michael Brooks is. Michael has not even reached out to her to have her on the show. If you don't want to reach out to other people, they're not popular enough for me. They're just not popular. That shouldn't be the reason why you allow somebody to give their opinion if it's educated and you respect it. But even if you disagree with her, whether it be on Tulsi or other things, you could still elevate her, have a intelligent discourse, give her a chance to showcase her belief, her opinions, and move on from there. It's that simple. And you know what's even funnier, bruh? And Sophia can talk and could attest to this. It's hilarious, bruh. Nobody wanted to bring. So you know, Sophia, if you've been on Twitter, I know a lot of people here follow us from Twitter. She's extremely active on Twitter. Actually, she made her Twitter at the beginning of the election. Now she has like 4,000 followers. She's good. Like when she went to Canvas for Tulsi, and then she went to Tulsi's event in New Hampshire. Abe, Tulsi's husband, immediately recognized her for the work she's done on Twitter. So she's pretty popular there, and she ain't about the bullshit. But she's always been on point. I think that anybody who has watched this show, when she's on and who follows her on Twitter, knows she is on point. Nobody invited Sophia on. Nobody's invited Sophia to talk. Nobody. I mean, when's the last time we've seen an 18-year-old be this fucking astute and clairvoyant in recognizing the bullshit from the real? There's not been enough. I've never seen this before. I'm like, y'all stupid. I'm gonna go ahead and bring her on the network because y'all slacking if y'all did not catch this early. To be real with you. And if anybody who's watched her or watched any of her segments, she's a little genius. And yet nobody wanted her on. But guess what happened, y'all? Guess what happened? The moment, the day, the night that Sophia announced she was part of the network, guess what? Everybody all of a sudden started reaching out to Sophia to get interviews. Isn't that a coincidence? So after Sophia gets elevated, oh, you with Niko? Well, I don't know if I can get an interview with Niko, but you're not as popular yet. So I can still get on Niko's channel if I do an interview with you. So, Sophia, can I come on? Can I interview you? Can you? That's what they do. That's what it is. Nobody, you know how many people wanted Niko on their channel? The only time they wanted me on their channel, even a little bit back in the day, was when we were in the middle at the height of the DNC fraud lawsuit. And that was only because, once again, everybody was covering it, and obviously I was if you couldn't get Jared and Liz, then you get me, because I was the only other authority on the issue. That was it. But it didn't matter how many times I was right. It didn't matter how popular I was becoming. It didn't matter that politicians and consultants and all these people watch my show to do their job. And like a lot, I mean, this is back in the day, like when I had 5,000, 6,000 subscribers. But everybody in the progressive circles knew who I was because of my political organizing. Like that's where they knew me from. It wasn't even because of my show, but they did know I had one. I've had journalists steal my content, literally steal them, literally. They've stolen my content. I've had people take credit for my DNC fraud lawsuit that I created with Jared and Liz. I've had people do everything but bring me on their show until, of course, oh, you know Tulsi? Oh, what? You think you can give me an interview with her? Oh, that's interesting. Hey man, you want to come on the show to talk about Tulsi? Hey man, you want to come on and talk about, That's interesting. I mean, like I said, there's been entire segments. TYT, at the time they covered the DNC fraud lawsuit, they had direct access to me because at the time I was friends with Jordan Sheridan. And they knew who founded the damn fraud lawsuit. They knew it, and they covered it without bringing me on anyway. Because the most dangerous thing to a fake progressive, and this is the realest shit that I'm gonna drop for y'all. The most dangerous thing in American progressive discourse to a fake ass progressive is a black person who calls them out on their bullshit. A black person who exposes them. A black person who shows to be more competent than they do on any given issue. Why do you think they treated Nina Turner the way they did when she left the DNC or left the Democratic Party, or at least, the Democratic Party's establishment apparatus, and endorsed Bernie? Why do you think they despise Cornel West now? Because, don't get me wrong, y'all. It's still important to have all these other voices, but no. You have to understand, because of the unique nature of America's political history, because of the back and forth between black people and the white patriarchy, and then the white fake, like the moderate white leftists that Martin Luther King referred to often, the most dangerous thing to a fake progressive is a black person who knows their shit. It has been throughout history. Because who do they use more when it comes to identity politics than us? They try to use us to get people to vote for Hillary over Trump. They didn't even use the Muslims. That's the first thing I would have did is look how he treats Latinos, look how he treats Muslims. They were like, nah, he hates black people. And we're like, that's like the worst example to use. He didn't even come at us during the election. I'm not saying he loves black people, but that wasn't the best. But that's what they do. It's always us they use. But it's always us first and foremost that they try and crush. First and foremost. Just saying. So when you see this happen, like when you see some of these progressives want to talk about race issues, TYT is going to be harder to catch. Now, every time they talk about a race issue, they make sure to bring a black person on. Most of the time, a black person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they at least try because they got called out. But Michael Brooks want to talk about Islamophobia and racism. When's the last time Michael Brooks had somebody on to actually talk about their personal experiences? Oh, my bad, Sophia. Nah, it wasn't Jordan who took credit for my for the lawsuit. It was a gentleman named Zach Holler. That was who did it. Jordan took credit. Jordan gave. So I was the one who broke the Hillary Victory Fund story. I gave it. I was talking to Jordan because he was the representative that I was communicating with TYT, because he was directly connected to Bernie's campaign, or he was like directly assigned to cover Bernie's campaign at the time. And this, by the way, was before any of y'all knew who the hell Jordan Sheridan was. More people knew who I was than knew who Jordan Sheridan was at this point. It was March of 2016. He took my story and gave it to TYT. And this is after he told me, oh, there's no smoking gun here. I'm like, except for there's all these FEC documents that we put together that prove that what we're saying is true. Nah, there's no smoking gun. The next morning, guess what the first thing TYT covered? The Hillary Clinton Victory Fund. The Kitty 3, yes, the shirtless progressive, the shirtless pundit, or whatever the hell he called himself. So that's just one example. I've had people steal my... Jordan went on Jimmy's show. So we were talking about... There was a whole conversation at this time. This is around the... after Hillary Clinton got elected. And we were talking about the Supreme Court shit. And I made the argument. The only person... Thank you, Bethlehem. I appreciate the super chat. I was the only person at that time that had made this argument. That people are saying that the Supreme Court is why we should have put Hillary Clinton in office. We have literally no guarantee that Hillary Clinton would put in a leftist judge, a progressive judge even. There's no history. In fact, we have more reason to believe that it would be the opposite, because we do know that she would do whatever she could to get TPP pushed through, because it had become blatantly clear that that was the corporations and Wall Street's number one goal. And she was going to do whatever she had to in order to get TPP pushed through. And because it was split, but like the Democrats didn't like TPP as a whole, and the Republicans didn't like TPP as a whole. However, if you compromise by giving the Republicans their judges, then maybe we'll be okay with TPP, because that would be a victory that the Republicans could take home to their districts. That was an argument that only I had ever made. I make the argument, the next fucking day Jordan goes on Jimmy's show, it makes the same fucking argument. That's what we're dealing with, people. That's what we're dealing with. Oh no, my beef with Jordan is that he tried to blackmail me, got one of his little cronies to dox me. He's a sexual predator. He's a dickhead. He is anti-Palestine. He actually told to one of my friends that he does not believe Palestinians are people. He does not believe in Palestinians. Y'all never wonder why Jordan never covered the Israel-Palestine conflict? That is tell his secret. But once again, I'll tell you how protected you are when you look white. Jordan, this is a big thing. Jordan tried to attack smear myself, Tim Black, and H.A. Goodman, because we had called out TYT's abysmal coverage of the DNC fraud lawsuit. And Jordan's brand had always been attached to TYT, even to this day. You know what happened after Jordan got kicked off of TYT? Y'all ain't know who the fuck he was. Nobody cared about him. And then he built up his brand again by getting back on Jimmy's show. And Jimmy, unfortunately, contributed to his new rise. So he out of nowhere, and mind you, me and Jordan were friends at this point. We were actually friends at this point. And then he smeared me out of nowhere, started calling me a demagogue and a liar. And I was like, oh, double back. What you mean I'm a liar about my lawsuit, by the way? Using facts, of course, like I tend to do. You all know I keep my receipts. MCSC Network will never get caught slipping at customer service. We are receipt heavy in this bitch. So I don't play that game. So I was like, oh, Jordan, so I'm a liar. So you gonna tell everybody how you told me in this text message right here that TYT didn't spend that $2 million on the investigative journalists that they said they were gonna bring in? In fact, they didn't bring in any new investigative journalists. They just brought in a bunch of personalities, and they didn't use the number. You were mad because they used your name to raise the $2 million and they said they were gonna give you help, but they didn't actually do that. And then you say right here that Nomiki is incompetent and is not even close to a journalist. That's what you said. That's what you said. Now you didn't. I'm not making this up. Here's what you said. Then, in his video, he tried to say that I was lying about being homeless. Once again, dumbass forget we got screenshots and shit. So I'm like, really? Jordan, I'm lying about being homeless despite the fact that in this text message where I'm talking to you about my situation, you acknowledge that I was homeless. You were wishing me luck, and even at that point asking me, is there anything you could do? So now I'm lying about being home. Why would I lie about something that fucking stupid? You could see if you back in the day when I still was doing my show while I was homeless out the back in my car, you could see my luggage and all of my life's belongings in the back of my car every Friday when I did my live show on American Freedom Radio. You could still see my shit in the back of the car. And he was like, people could just go back like a month before that and see it. So then he got his little friend to dox me. Then he tried to post a letter. So Jordan asked me to, because remember, they were raising the $2 million to bring on more investigative journalists and to help Jordan. And Jordan did want the help, and he didn't trust a lot of people, but he knew I was good at my damn job, and he asked me to apply. So I was like, yeah, and this was before that, of course, like in November of 2016. And I applied. So then he thought that he could he's like, oh, because he texted me separately the next morning. If you don't stop this, I'll tell everybody that you applied to TYT and yet you're smearing it. I'm like, Jordan, you're a fucking moron. You told me to apply. Nobody is going to be mad especially at the end of beginning or middle of 2016. Nobody thought that TYT was this fucking horrid. So there was that. So there's that. But also, you told me to apply, you idiot. And on top of that, the reason they didn't hire me was likely because they knew I wouldn't put up with their bullshit. So, even despite all of, mind you, on top of this, Jordan is a confirmed sexual predator. A confirmed sexual predator. And the sad part is, I can't even tell you how many women, it's not even a joke. I can't tell you how many women have come up to me about Jordan. Because they were worried if they came out, they know how women are treated when it comes, or anybody else really, but how women specifically are treated when it comes to holding males accountable for their actions. That they would be blamed. And guess what? The woman that came out, yeah, the story got Jordan fired, but guess what everybody was saying? They were still blaming her. Not that the situation didn't happen, but that she shouldn't have let it happen. Even though I told people okay, so that's bullshit. I wasn't gonna let them do that. And so with the permission of the women, I didn't use their names, but I did a video telling all the different stories that I had heard. The man is a fucking scumbag. Had been one. But the most famous quote that I remember from Jordan. You want me to teach you how to get laid at Standing Rock? That was a quote from Jordan. But guess what? The point of this story is, after all of that, this is how strong white knighthood is. He's still one of the most prominent voices in the progressive movement after all of that. Like, and it's not even by the TYT progressives. So we can't blame it on that. There are a lot of legitimate progressives who see him as one of the best voices in the movement. The man blackmailed me and lied about my housing situation. And you know what people told me? We should get over this and move on. We're all allies in the movement. We have to look at the bigger picture. That is how real that cloak is. And guess what? Jordan knew he could do what the fuck he wanted to, and people would still love and adore him. Why do you think sexual assault is still so rampant? Why do you think racism on the left, especially, is still so rampant? Because they know they can get away with it. You're not gonna do something that you think you're not gonna be able to get away with. Not regularly. Like, just saying. He knew he could get away with it. And the unfortunate truth of the matter is, was he not right? Was he not right? So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for... You said that's not confirmed, but that's embellishing. No. It's confirmed. He admitted it in a fucking... So when the girl was going to go public, he preempted it in a Medium article, admitting to everything, but his ultimate conclusion was that it was her fault. So it wasn't like this. He didn't deny the story, nothing. He admitted to everything, but then said, but it was her fault though. No. Don't boycott Jimmy. Jimmy didn't know. In all fairness, Jimmy didn't know. Jimmy doesn't pay attention to drama, which is good. It's too much of it. But yeah, like he admitted it. Just that story. You don't even have to believe the other shit, which is a whole... That if I told you the other stories, the details would give too much information away, so you'd be able to know who I'm talking. But there are popular blue checkmark progressives that have had their run-ins with Jordan in the most disgusting of ways. So, but like I said, they do it because they didn't get away with it. It is what it is. But just to make you cognizant, gotta talk about that shit. Because if you don't talk about it, if we don't acknowledge these like kind of unspoken truisms in our movement, then man, if we don't self-reflect, then we're in for a long election. Seriously. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for hey man, look, this is a long ass damn live stream. Holy shit. Why are y'all still here? There's so many of you all here too. What the hell? But I appreciate you all sticking around. If for those of you who came in recently, I guess you can start it over and actually watch the segment. But I do appreciate you all sticking around. Thanks for all the super chats. And also, once again, Rokfin has their app now. The program that the other platform that I'm on, that I love so much better than YouTube, by the way. So I'll put that in the... But if you're on Google Play or you have Apple or iPhone or anything like that, Rokfin has an app now. And it's dope. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty fucking dope. It really is. It's cool as hell. And so that's You here for the juicy drama? Oh man, y'all funny. Hey, whatever. You know, I don't mind. I don't mind the smoke. I'm all about that. But yeah, go to Rokfin. Go download that app right now and go follow me on Rokfin. Because a lot of my videos there. Well, a lot of my videos I post there. Almost all of my videos I post there. But also, I do exclusive content for Rokfin that they market too. So it's pretty dope. All right, people. Other than that, always remember more than anything else, people. Find your balance. Peace.